Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is a little different for me too. Normally I speak to HR conferences. So project management is something, it'd be hard pressed to find anyone that knows less than I do. But what I did my entire career, and I had a wonderful career, loved it, was manage people. Now, why would a group of largely, I think everybody I got to chat with is an IT nerd, why would a largely technical group of people who primarily work remotely or solo care about what somebody like me says? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. Okay. How many of you manage people? Okay, Madam Secretary, would you please note that we have people in the audience with children at home and they say they don't manage anybody. Okay, so, and I can't say you're wrong, they may be managing you, but managing people, okay, is something we all do every day. What they never teach you at Harvard Business School is you don't need a title to manage people and get what you need from them. How many of you ever hear, well, if I was in charge, when I get to be in charge? You don't ever wait till you're in charge. Because you may never get there for whatever reason. Okay, but if you start managing people every day in your life, because you're either managing people and you're managing your expectations for people, or you're just kind of drifting through space. How many of you have to deal with people? I'm sorry to hear that. That can be a petty nuisance. Okay, how many of you work face-to-face versus remote? Face-to-face. Oh, wow. Okay, this is very remote. Very remote. All right, and let me talk about that a little bit, because remote, quite frankly, is much harder. It is much harder. You can't read somebody when you're working remote. You can't control the setting. If I'm in my office and I shut the door and turn off the phone, I have a reasonable expectation of no interruptions. When the person you're interacting with has 4 children under the age of 5 and 6 dogs in the home with her, she may or may not control the interruptions. But most importantly, you don't see the body language. And it's somewhat analogous to an email. The words are there, but you don't really know the laughter or the tone or anything else behind it. So I have always preferred dealing with people face to face, and I always will. I don't think in human activity you will ever find a better system than that. Now, Facebook may disagree, but what you can do in a neutral setting, you can go get a cup of coffee. You can invite them to the ball game. Okay, you can get them out of the work zone, the stress zone, and you can get to know people. Because if you're going to manage them, you're going to need to know them. How many of you have ever had to bury somebody you love? Okay, it's really tough. It's really, really tough. And yet, let me tell you some of the stuff I would see in business. Somebody would lose somebody, a spouse, a parent, God forbid, a child. And people would send emails expressing sympathy. Okay. Sometimes they'll call the person up on the phone. Sometimes they'll get a nice 35-pound rag paper card, write something deep, personal, and touching on it, and mail it to them. And sometimes they'll go see them. They'll go to the wake or the seder or whatever the event is called. They'll go to the funeral. They'll go to the home, but they'll go see the person. My dad died over 30 years ago. I still remember the people that came to see me. I still remember the cards. I don't remember most of the phone calls. We're just budding in emails, and you know, and that's the point. Okay, when you're dealing with people, there are efficient ways to deal with people. Email is hands down one of the most efficient communication vehicles ever invented. It is also one of the least effective. Nobody remembers emails. Nobody. All right. Any of y'all ever had issues with another person? Yeah, I've read about people like y'all, never met any, but I've read about it. Okay, all right. For this evening, we're going to talk about how to communicate and how to manage people. Now, everybody's a product of something. I came out of industry in America. Okay, very, very large manufacturing plants. Okay, and it just so happened my career went down a path where we were in industries that were heavily unionized in certain parts of the country. Now, how many of you had any experience with unions? Okay. They're really not a presence here in South Florida of significance in most industries, okay? Florida's a right-to-work state, which basically means they can't make you join and pay dues. So, but if you're in Chicago or Los Angeles or New York City, you have no idea. They can absolutely paralyze you. They can absolutely paralyze you. So the goal is not to have them. That's the goal. But what I'm going to talk about, and it's the same concept, whether you're trying to keep from getting unionized, you're trying to keep from getting sued, you're trying to have a disgruntled employee threatening your life, okay, or question your ancestry, which does happen quite a bit in HR. But anyway, it's the same set of techniques, it's the same set of rules. I coined the phrase third-party intervention. Third-party intervention is best described as here's the company, here's the union, here's the company, here's the employees. Third-party intervention is kind of like when you marry the princess. The princess was spoiled rotten before she was born. She's been pampered by her mother every day of her life. Okay. Now, for some reason, I don't understand, some man decides to marry her. Okay. And they're not getting along that well. That just, whatever reason, they're just not hitting it off too good. And she wants her mother to move in with them and help. That's how unions work. That's how they operate. Okay. They're there to help you. Oh yeah. No, they're not. They're there to make money, just like businesses. Okay. There's a very, very potent lesson about adversity. Adversity is arguments. Adversity is debate. Adversity is any kind of conflict. And my rule is very simple. You avoid it like the plague. No one ever wins an argument. Now, for tonight, we're going to define an employee as anybody you need something from. Could be theoretically a spouse, could be a coworker. Just don't fall behind the naive trap. Well, to manage, I've got to have a title. Because if the only thing that helps you manage is a title, I'm going to pray for you. All right. Does anybody in here know anything more adversarial in business than a union organizing campaign? In a union organizing campaign, there's a factory. There's the company, their employees. The union comes in and says, we want to represent the employees. The employees sign a card saying, I joined the union. If 30% of the bargaining unit signs the card, they petition the federal government for an election. Can anybody think of anything in business more adversarial than a union campaign? I've been through sales, I've been through closures, I've been through mergers, been through divorce. You know, it's a pretty adversarial time. It really is. Now, how many of y'all majored in math or a STEM major? Okay, I got a candidate over here. It's a nice young lady. All right. If a union spends $2 million on a campaign to get in a 1,000-employee factory, and those are very, very realistic numbers, okay? Union spends $2 million, and the company spends $500,000. There's 1,000 employees. It's just like a political election. Both sides campaign, promising, fear-mongering, etc. Okay, now, of the 1,000, 950 vote. Of the 950 voters, 600 vote for the union and 600 vote for the company, 350 vote for the union. Who won the election? Math majors, please, first. All right, let's go this again. All right, this is calculus major, but okay, there's 950 people vote. 600 vote for the company. 350 vote for the union. Who won?
Everybody lost.
Nobody.
Yeah. Okay. Let me tell you who won. The lawyers. The lawyers. And in full disclosure, I hate them all. Then we'll work back from that if you've got one that works for Mother Teresa's charities or something. Okay. But I hate them all. Okay. Do you know in America what a trial is theoretically? Do you know? It is a search for the truth. Can you believe that? O.J. Simpson believes that. He wrote a book too called My Search for the Real Killers. Anyway, this is why you lose adversity. This is exactly why. You've got 350 employees that hate their job and hate their company. They put their blood, sweat, and tears in this campaign, and they lost. You think they're going to say, good game, now let's go to work and make the company great again? No. No. The union's coming back in 12 months, okay? They're going to be election once a year. They will be back. These employees that now are in your family, in your company, hate you. They go to OSHA, they go to DOT, EEOC, the alphabet soup agencies as I call them. Okay, they can wreak more havoc on you making the most totally erroneous, falsified campaign than you have ever imagined. You cannot imagine the time you can spend in the federal government offices explaining something that never happened. Okay. Relationship destruction. I've seen fathers that quit speaking to their sons that quit speaking to their brothers, okay? Because both of them were very, very passionate about the campaign, and both of them thought God was on their side, okay? They really put their heart and soul in. They've lost. So you have really lost, and here's my point. These relationships can stay destroyed till somebody dies, if not some other event. The only way you ever win litigation, any kind of litigation, is you avoid it. That's the only way you're going to win. I've seen lawyers write letters to the press. Oh, your team did a great job. It's tragic that they lost and you owe me $472,000. Thank you very much. Okay. These people. Now, I was giving a speech one time in Mississippi and I said, okay, all right, me and Billy Bob get in a fight and I knocked out 7 of his teeth, broke his collarbone, and fractured his nose. He chipped 2 of my teeth. Who won the fight? Of course, Bubba said, oh, you did. I'm like, no, I didn't win anything. I lost 2 perfectly good teeth. Okay, so you have to stay out of the fights. So I'm glad you asked. How do you stay out of the fight? In an argument, in a fight, in a debate, you're doing one of two things. You're getting what you need from that person that you're managing, or you're feeding your ego. And particularly with men who admittedly are the dumber of the sexes, the ego champion comes out lots of times. Because here is what happens in an argument. It's not about whether I should vote for a Republican or Democrat. My ego, my intelligence, my education, my worldly view of everything is now on the chopping block. How many of you have ever been in a serious, significant argument and the other person said, you know, you're right. I was wrong. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't. Never in the history of mankind did a man win an argument against a woman before Johnny Depp. Okay. And it could have been a man and a man, you know. Okay. Now, always ask yourself, how many of you love to argue and debate? All right, sign a prayer list, because I'm going to do it. Okay? It is the kiss of death. Now, another thing that I've learned the hard way is never in a company create what I call an I hate you theme. Okay? I'll give you an example. One time I took over a four-plant operation headquartered in Inman, South Carolina. They transferred our management group down from the New York City area to Hopkins, South Carolina. You know, probably not where I would have found the leaders, but anyway. So they get there. Oh, we gotta save some money. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna save some money. Well, we got this great idea. You see, historically, for the last 25 years, these employees at meal break got a paid 20-minute lunch break. Now, there's nothing magnanimous about a paid 20-minute lunch break. Frankly, that's the law. Okay, 20 minutes or less, you got that. What my genius Yankees did, they said, no, we're going to give them 30 minutes, but we're not going to pay them for it. So they call it the new lunch program. The employees call it the pay cut, because it was a little over 6% pay cut. And what you have to realize in our family, you know, people like us, maybe we work for condos and trips to Europe and sending kids to expensive schools or whatever. These people worked for food, okay? They worked for friggin' food, and invariably, twice I've seen it, that's where the execs want to cut costs, the people that are the least able to afford it. Yep. There was a revolution in that company. Takeaways. Takeaways is anything you have today you're not going to have tomorrow. Whether it's a preferred parking place, $100 deductible on your insurance going to $500. We're not giving raises this year. Well, some of the Jewish employees don't like the Christmas ham, so we're not going to give anybody anything this year. Another option would have been give turkeys, but you know, whatever. Okay. If you ever have to cut, you start at the top. I was with a management group in Miami years ago, and you know, everybody's in suits, you know, the company president and all the execs sitting around the table and said, well, you know, we're going to have to lower expenses, so, you know, I think we're going to cut all the hourly employees from 40 hours a week to 36, and we're going to save 10% of our labor costs. I said, no, you're not. You're not going to save a dime. You're actually going to lose when you do that. Do you think these people that work for food say, oh yeah, I understand, yeah, things are tough, yeah. Okay, the stupidity in American management is frightening. And I said, look, I don't know what we need to do, but I can tell you something. If we need to take away, it starts in this room. We are the highest paid people in the company, every one of us, were the highest paid, you would have thought I called the Pope Jewish. I'll be damned if I'm. And I'm like, look, we're just exploring options here. Okay? These people work for food. You're driving a Mercedes. Let's see. Do we need a flip chart to do this? Because we can get one if we do. But you will never hear more creativity in your life. Because then you say, look, I don't know where you got the idea that business runs on dollars or business runs on people. Business runs on income. Okay? How much do we take and how much do we spend? Okay? Now, if we've got to take this much cost out of this company, and you guys think the thing to do it is to torture the hourly employees, I'm going to nominate you for the award. I've forgotten the name of it, but it's the award they gave Adolf Hitler when he gave Einstein to the Allies because he was Jewish. Okay, you just can't do this stuff. You can't. So, I say, this is the amount of money you're proposing to save. What could each of you do? And the creativity is limitless. Well, we do this twice a month. I can do it once a month. I can do this. We've been trading in these salesmen's cars every year. We know that doesn't make sense. We can go to 18 months or 2 years. I mean, it's unbelievable. But you have to put it in terms they can understand, which in essence is, look, if we got to cut pay, we got to cut pay, but we start in here. Okay. One of the things I always loved in a company, I'd go in a plant, and I would see an employee, and there'd be construction going on, taking out a wall, adding a wall. I'd say, hey, what's going on? And they grab you by the arm, come on. We're building another reactor over here. We're going to hire another 27 people. I'm in line to be in charge of them. It's going to be a 2-shift operation. It's over a $12 million investment in this plant. That guy is engaged because his supervisor is informing him. A lot of places, they say, I don't know. Nobody's told me what's going on. It's very, very common. You gotta be culturally sensitive. I had a guy one time that ran a chemical plant in Baltimore. He was universally hated. You know? He was rude, crass, vulgar, obnoxious, condescending, arrogant. You know, that's about all I can think about right now. But he was tough. He was really, really tough. But the employees had a habit of bringing in food every Friday. This guy was from India, Pakistan. He was, I believe, Hindu. Everything that came in that plant had pork on it. If they stopped at Krispy Kreme, they would stop at McDonald's and buy bacon and sausage to throw it in the box. Okay? Okay. So, and that's a not so subtle way of telling you, your people can get back at you. Okay, and if you think they can't, you're just incredibly naive. They're gonna get back at you. You see, to an employee, it's about their world. Their world is their supervisor, the person they talk to every day, the office environment they're in. They don't care about the stock price. They don't care about the president. They talk about their little world. True story, one time, I'm in a manufacturing plant. I can't tell you the company because of my 17-page severance agreement. I'll just say it. It rhymes with Campbell soup. Okay, you can take it from there. President of the company comes in on his Learjet. He's walking through the plant. One of the maintenance guys says, sir, you know, could I talk to you privately for a minute? He goes, sure, let me finish the tour and I'll send for you. So he sends for him. This is the president of Campbell Soup. Learjet, chauffeur limousine, the whole 9 yards. The guy is expressing his frustration. He said, look, I'm at the top of my pay range. The only increases I get are the annual increase every year. That's it. Do you know what my brilliant, Harvard-educated president said? I understand. I'm at the top of my pay range too. $12 an hour, $750,000 a year. Now, you need geniuses in companies, but keep them away from your employees because they're dangerous. Some of them are real dangerous, okay? People, they have this innate need to know. They need to want and know. Now, you can fulfill that need. And if you want to be powerful and significant, you will fulfill that need. Okay? You don't need a title. But that need is going to get filled. Whether it's by an attorney, whether it's by a disgruntled ex-employee, etc. So, how many of you have ever worked with anybody that got divorced? Okay, it's tragically too common. What do you do when somebody gets divorced? What do you do? Depends. What else? Condolence. What else? Come on. I thought you said this was a bright crack. Come on. What do you do? I'm going to tell you. You say, hey, I heard you enjoyed split up. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. No. Hope everything works out in both ways. And then I'd say, listen, I don't want to pry. I'm the least nosy person on the planet, but I happen to know you have over 6 figures in your 401k account. You've been married less than a year, and you've got at least 2 years' salary in life insurance. Have you come by and changed your beneficiary? You have no idea how many people that thought never entered their mind. You know why? Well, we moved in his house, I moved down, I took all the things I got, and he just, no, it was simple, Don. Okay, I'll tell you how I learned that lesson, hard way. Had an employee, married a woman, divorced, hadn't seen her in 10 years. Remarried, had 3 small children under 8. He was tragically killed on the job. He never changed his beneficiary. That woman took the money, left the wife with 3 kids. You know. So, from now on, when somebody gets divorced, I hope you know what to say. Okay, some more cultural insensitivities I've experienced in my quest to improve mankind. I was at a plant, and the vice president of manufacturing comes in my office and says, hey, can you go to lunch with me today? I really, really need to talk to you about something. I said, yeah, all right. So I said, who's buying? Oh, I am. Okay, all right, that's cool. You're the one that needs this, not me, so that's perfect. So he gets in the car, he says, you know, Don, something's wrong with Rudy. I mean, he's always been kind of shy and reserved, doesn't talk a lot, but his head is just not in the game. Every morning we're in the manufacturing meetings, you know, and he'll answer a question, but that's it. He's just not like he wants. And I said, well, of course he's not. You know, well, what do you mean? I said, Rudy has buried 5 people in his family in the last 6 months. He's buried his dad, he buried his brother, a sister, an uncle, and somebody else. And you think he's okay? The guy looks at me and says, how do you know all this stuff? And I said, that's not important. What's important is you don't know any of it, and you're his boss. Well, I knew he was taking time off, etc., etc. Okay, you have to know who you're dealing with. And I'll tell you, some people wear it really, really well, but people are hurting out there. Okay. So I say all of that to get to this point. Do you care about me? Do you care about me? And let me tell you what I mean by that. It does not mean you like me. It does not mean you want to bring me home for Sunday dinner. I used to fill jobs. All right, I need a Quebec, French-speaking mechanical engineer that's working in the chemical industry with chlorine, which is deadly, by the way. And they're willing to live in the Mojave Desert for 2 years, and then I'm going to transfer them to Montreal. Do you know how many qualified candidates you might come up with? One. If you ever hit the lottery, 2. Okay. Anybody know where the Mojave Desert in California is? It's 10 miles from the end of the earth. It is known for nothing but what they call Mojave greens, which is a rattlesnake with an olive complexion. Okay. They would crawl into the plants at night and warm themselves off the heat generated by the tanks. So part of your job description was, don't go sticking your hands in anything. You know. All right. But when you care about people, please get this. Please get this. It has nothing to do whether they're like you and you like them. When I say like you, I mean similar to you, similar interests, similar backgrounds. It has to do with, do you empathize and acknowledge things in their life that are serious and significant? The number one rule with people, there is never a reason to yell, curse, and mistreat anybody. I don't care what happened. I don't care. I have believed in that for a long, long time, and I've seen a lot of people in my career that did not believe in it. But I came out of my most formative years were with Pepperidge Farm. It was founded by a lady named Margaret Rucking. There was no faster way in Pepperidge Farm to get asked the question, not counting tomorrow, how long have you worked here? If you mistreated somebody. She just not going to play that. Now, I went for a number of companies, and some of y'all probably work for these same moronic lawyers that write this stuff. We do not allow any harassment or mistreatment of anyone because of race, color, religion, age, sex, national origin, sexual orientation, or sexual identity. How many of you read something like that in an employee handbook? What about the rest of the people? I'm like, you morons. Do I get to mistreat this person solely because they're perfectly healthy, 25, and a gringo? Because that's what they are really honest to God saying. These lawyers I hate so much. Oh no, since these people have a legal recourse, you can't do anything to them. But, so I started this concept called Respectful Workplace, and it's great. I said, we don't let anybody be mistreated by anyone in the workplace. Okay? Company live by it, die by it. So, they don't have to be a protected species. Okay? It's anybody. Now, tell you a great story. I think this is not my severance agreement. Worked for this European company, and they gave this person a job. She was a divisional president over about 300 employees. Now, prior to that, she'd been a lawyer, a real lawyer. Never managed anyone, anything. And she was, I don't know what the word below God awful is, but that was her. I had 5 different major executives in my office in tears because of the way she was shellacking them in public and private and all. So one day I had enough. I picked up my phone, my weapon of choice. I called her boss in Europe. Hey man, what's happening, honey? Hey. I said, hey, I want to do something for you. Sure, what's that? I said, I'm going to give you a free round trip to America. I want you to come over here. You pick the major city. I don't want to know. Atlanta, Chicago, Miami. Has to be an international city. Montreal, New York. I want you to pick the 6 or 8 high-level executives in this division that you know. I want you to fly them in clandestinely and have a 1-hour conversation with every one of them about what's going on in North America. This guy was a real class act. He said, look, Don, I know you well enough that I do need to talk to those people. And you're right. I do know some of them very, very well, and they will confide in me. But I don't need to come to America for that. I can do it over the phone. I said, well, true. Who would turn down a free trip to America when you live in Finland? Anybody ever been to Finland? Good. Don't go. Done. 23 hours of darkness in the morning. Okay. So, guy gets on the phone, he starts calling people. Because they started calling me. Hey, guess what happened? Guess what happened? Guess what happened? Next week, she is gone. You know. So, and the point was, we were serious about this respect. What a good supervisors know about their employees. This is in a book I read several years ago, and it might be a little off topic, but I don't care. It's such a great story. During a union organizing campaign, I was recruited to help the company because, let's say, that they really needed help badly. So, the president says, come on with me. We're going to meet with all the supervisors. How about 35 supervisors? He brought them all in the room. This is the president, you know, several levels of management and manure between these people. And he said, all right, how many people work for you and how many of them are going to vote for the union? So Joe A., supervisor, says, well, I got 12, and there's one guy voting for the union. The rest of them, they're solid with us. Guy behind me, I got 15, and I don't think any of them are voting for the union. Goes all the way around the room. And of course, I'm keeping score, because I like numbers, okay? So he said, well, what do you think? I said, well, we can talk about it later. So he excuses everybody. He said, all right, what do you think? I said, well, I counted up how many yes votes the union has. There's 78. We already know 390 people signed the cards to get the election. Not only is your way of polling off, it's off times 3 or 4. And in a nice sort of way, because you have to be that way to presidents. You're going about this all wrong. So, I said, okay, all right, Einstein, what do you do? What do you do? You know so much. I said, I'm going to tell you, I want to know the supervisor is in touch. There's lots of supervisors, there's lots of managers, there's lots of VPs. They get the results and they stay, but they're not in touch. I said, look, you walk out in the plant tomorrow, you pick any of these supervisors and you point to one of his employees. What's that guy's name over there? Okay, where does he live? Well, how about his family status? He married with 2 twins? Okay, what's the biggest thing going on in his life right now? What's the biggest thing in his life? I have no idea. Look, man, I work these people. I don't socialize with them. I don't chat with them, you know. I just work them, okay? So, I said, all right, this is how it should work. When you walk out there and you grab a supervisor and you say, who is that guy over there that's working for you? Oh, that's Buckwheat. Buckwheat is his name? He says, no, his real name, confidentially, and you can never say I said this or I'll deny it, is Cyrus McGillicuddy III. He hates his name. Hence, he's been called Buckwheat from the Little Rascals all his life. Okay, well, where's Buckwheat live? Well, you go down the old 34 till you get to where the old red barn used to be, and take a left. And you go to where that black bull is standing in the corner of that field, and right across from him, there's a gravel road, and you go up there, and he's got a house, And they, oh, God, you know where you live? Yeah, I messed with hot rods, and he had a engine wouldn't quite work, so I went over there a few months ago to help him with it. What's the biggest thing going on in his life? What's the biggest thing? Wife pregnant with the first child, first son, first daughter, just closed on their house. What is on his mind? Buckwheat hates the union. That's what's on his mind. Okay. Man, I struck gold with that brother. Okay, I absolutely struck gold. Only, he took it to another level. I'm telling you, these really bright guys can do some amazing things. So he's walking all around the company. Hey, girl, what's her name? Where she live? She married? Got kids? Tell me about it. After a few embarrassing episodes, I don't know that much about it. She only worked here a couple of years. The word spread. It spread like wildfire. You better get to know your people, because Ted's on the warpath listening to that radio. Okay? And I'm thinking, man, this is great. I'm going to take some of these stoic managers and give them a dose of humanity. So, we went on for about a week. And the president walks in my office and tosses a hard copy of an email down. He said, Don, I think some people just can't ever get it. This is a true story. It was from the administrative assistant to the vice president of engineering. Bill would like to get to know you better. Please fill out this form and return it to me by Friday. What is your real name? Where do you live? What's the biggest thing going on in your life? My whole lesson was lost. All that remained were the 4 questions. Thank God his employees couldn't vote in the election. Policies. I love policies. Write the ones you need, clear examples, and you write policies always with your best employee in mind. People that say things like, well, I don't like short-term disability pay very well because they won't come back to work. So, well, they're not going to come back to work if they lose their car, are they? Okay? You write them with your best people in mind. You write them with your best people in mind. Also, there's no such thing, and this is another gift from the legal profession, no such thing as the hidden policy manual, the body to the summary plan description on benefits. How many of you read this? This is our policy, this is how we'll operate. However, we reserve the right to change our mind at any moment in time with no notice, with or without agreement. Love the company. It's worthless. It's absolutely worthless. Okay? I don't have policy manuals. I have a detailed handbook, and that's it. Everybody reads the same sheet of music. Okay? There is nowhere to go except the handbook. The best handbook I ever wrote in my life was for an operation in El Paso, Texas. Anybody been to El Paso? Yeah, Mexico's still claiming ownership of El Paso, but for now it's in America. Okay. You know what the handbook said? These are our policies, and we will live by them. If you ever feel we have violated any of them, you immediately have to bring that to the plant manager's attention. All we ask in the case of a very technical or sophisticated issue, we want to bring in an outside arbitrator to make the decision. That's it. That is power. Okay? How many of you ever read an employment at will statement in the employee handbook? This is a new level of stupid in human relations. We reserve the right to fire anybody at any time for any reason or no reason at all. By working here, you agree and acknowledge our right to fire you for good reason, bad reason, no reason whatsoever. Let me tell you the big problem with that. When somebody is wronged and they get in front of a jury and they said it's because of my race, he was constantly making racist jokes, etc., etc. These are examples and these are witnesses. These are emails. And the company lawyer gets up there and says, oh, no, we have a right to fire anybody we want at any time. Here it is, he signed it. Who do you think the jury believes? Nobody ever fires anyone for no reason. Okay? They just don't want to admit the reason. Okay. Inconsistency. I hate it. Right up there with the lawyers. I believe inconsistency is the first sign of schizophrenia. People accept hard, demanding, firm infinitely quicker than they accept inconsistency. And it's just human nature. It drives people nuts. So, write the policies you have and live by them. Now, this particular illness, schizophrenia, is sometimes disguised, and the clue is, well, you know, we really don't like putting things in writing because it restricts our creativity. And I would say that's why I put them in writing. I love to restrict your creativity. Okay? You're an accountant, not a magician. If you're not going to follow your policy, don't have it. Throw it away. I'll have people come to me and say, well, we need an attendance policy. I give it to them. They put it in place. They don't enforce it. Well, if I enforced it, I'd lose everybody that works for me. That's another problem. Okay? So tear it up. Harassment free, I already touched on that. Everybody. Drug use policy. Do you know why people do not drug test in this country today? Yeah. Lawyers call this plausible deniability, meaning I really don't want to know the truth. Yeah, that's why. That's the only reason. And by the way, if any of you are champions for the minimum wage, there is no faster way than mandatory drug testing. That is the quickest way on the planet. You go to mandatory drug testing, pay goes up. Again, what's written is important. What happens is infinitely more important. You want to oil the gears of life, because life's tough. Life's real tough sometimes. I never missed a funeral in an employee's family. Never. Went to a lot of them. I had a desk full of cards. My administrative assistant knew that if I ran out of cards, she was in trouble. I had bereavement cards. I had wedding cards. I had congratulations on the birth of a boy. Congratulations on the birth of a boy. I had bar mitzvah cards. I had bat mitzvah cards. Okay. I had the most likely events, because when you've got thousands of employees with thousands of relatives, those events happen relatively often. But you acknowledge it. Weddings, birth of a child. I already told you what to do when they get divorced. Okay, and the reason 60% roughly of your problem children in business, they're problem children when they walk in the door. I got a whole nother program on how to avoid them. And that's where I put my major emphasis. Who got invited to the party. But 40% of your people become what you make them. They become what you choose to make them. And if you do this, that 40% will turn into your best. Life's got carrots, okay? To the extent possible, be as good to anyone as you can. I mean, I was an HR guy. I had to terminate a lot of people through the years. Some of them, frankly, they were losing jobs they would never replace. And I knew it and they knew it. But it doesn't mean you belittle, insult, and humiliate people. That's just wrong. If you'll follow these gears of life, again, 40% are going to come how you treat them. Thank grieving. When I invented this, it was like in the 80s. And I gotta admit, I invented it for less than noble purposes. Guy came in my office very upset with me and had a screwdriver in his hand. It looked a lot like a knife to me, the way he was bamming it on my desk. So, he complained. I said, thanks for letting me know. I did not know that. He froze. He wanted to fight. It takes two people to fight. Thanks for letting me know. I'll look into it. I'll let you know before you leave today what the story is. Now, there's two reasons you do that. First, you totally diffuse the anger and avoid the fight. The second, it really screws with their head. They're coming in there wanting to fight, and you're thanking them. You know? They don't expect that all the time. How many of you have ever heard of Dale Carnegie, and where'd you hear his name? No, it's Napoleon Hill.
How to make friends and
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay? I read that book 23 times. I quit reading it because my dog ate it. I mentioned that at a Dale Carnegie program. Guess what? The next day I got a new copy in the mail. Hands down, that is the best training on earth you will ever find with managing and dealing with people. Any of his programs, any of his books. The other thing you got to do, you got to gain people's heart. And you gain their heart by caring about them. Because when you get the heart, the mind and body is going to follow the heart. The mind and body will follow the heart. Look at the greatest boxers of all time. Their bodies are beat to oblivion, but their heart's not going to let them not make the bell. Okay, summarize. Avoid arguments and debate. Period. Tell people what's going on in the business. Don't make them guess. Third, do you care about me? And it's not, do you like me? And it's not, do you not want to listen to this? It's, do you care? And again, in closing, you gain their heart. They know you care. Their minds and bodies will follow. Okay, thank you.